So let me just start by saying, today we are going to look at critical reading for postgraduate students. Critical reading is one of the most important cornerstones of postgraduate education, from honors to PhD. It is the essence of higher education, particularly postgraduate education. So we're going to look at this important concept under various, my slides are not moving. Oh, there you go. To do this, there are a number of material that are available for critical reading, a number of books that are available, and I've made maximum use of most of these books from what you're going to look at. By way of introduction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the definition of critical reading. I don't think I will ever have a comprehensive definition of what critical reading is, but I'm completely convinced that after this session, we will have an understanding of what critical reading is all about. In doing so, I'm going to use a few cases. Most of them are fictional. They are not real. I've just made them up. Some I got them from different sources, but they are not true. So we just keep them like that. Then we're going to try and look at the link between critical reading and critical writing. As you know, language skills ordered in a hierarchical way. The first and simplest skill of language is listening. It is understandable that any person who has to speak, first of all, must master the concept of listening. If you cannot listen, or if you cannot hear, you will never be able to speak, because there's no way you are going to learn the language without hearing it. The same applies with reading and writing. The first important skill at academic level is the ability to read, because it translates and articulates into your writing skills. And so is critical reading, which translates into critical writing. Then you're going to look at the importance of critical reading at postgraduate education and what are the expectations for postgraduate students. We will learn by looking at how we can evaluate in order to be critical. Now, to start with, I'm going to give you a few seconds, just 1 minute, to read this story. If you want, you can take a screenshot about retired General Tom. I think it will help us to launch into what we want to look to do in terms of critical reading. And I'll give you 1 minute. It's just less than 100 words. Okay. I assume that we are all done with the reading. Now, I want to challenge you to tell me what you think will be the best solution to solve this. Because at the end, the retired general's claim was rejected. Can anyone tell me the reason why it was rejected? You can write your answers in the chat box, or you can pick up your hands. But mostly I want you to pick up your hands and tell me what the reason was for the rejection of this appeal. Any response? Any attempt? Yes, go for it. I can't see the hands. You can just say your name and give me the reason. That's Grace. Grace, can you take it?
Okay, so I think the problem is the date.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, the date. For now, I'm still checking other things.
No, I think you're right with the date. That's the main thing. What's wrong with the date?
Okay,
They claim that he fought
according
in
to
World
my...
War One. Oh,
Sorry, there was someone. Grace? Okay, let me cut the long story short. The problem with this, in 1945, a dispute arose over the compensation of World War I veterans, primarily due to the requirement for beneficiaries to provide evidence of their services. Retired General Tom submitted a signed letter from his commander as proof, which stated that General Tom had indeed fought in World War I. However, the letter was dated 28 May 1930, raising questions about the validity and relevance of the compensation claims at the time. Now, the main challenge with that was the date and the timing, because by 1930, World War I was never World War I because there was no World War II. And therefore, there was no reason for any record to record it as World War I. It was simply known as the Great War. And as a result, any claim that it was World War I in 1930 was false and it was a fraud. That's why they were able to pick it that this was not correct. What we have done here is critical reading. We are not just reading what is before us. We are trying to compare what is before us in view of other events, in view of other knowledge that we have. That in itself becomes critical reading. We're going to look at a few more examples of critical reading. This is quite interesting. Thanks so much. Okay. So this one is about critical reading again. There is a good story. I'll give you a few seconds to read, just a minute. Okay. Oh, great. So what I want you to do is to write and think about critical questions that you might want to ask. At the moment, we are now breaking into a few rooms, maybe 4 or 5 in each. In those rooms, I want you to list critical questions that you might want to ask, having looked at this advert. So we are now breaking into rooms, and I'll give you 5 minutes to write about 5 questions that you think could be very important to ask in order to ascertain the veracity of this claim. So let's break into our rooms. Asipem?
Hi, Prof. I think they have been taken to the rooms.
Okay.
We still have about 24 people here. Please just join the rooms assigned to you.
The people in the rooms, can you join your rooms that have been assigned to you? There are about 16 people still here. Seventeen participants.
Hi, Denise. If you can just check in the options, I've allowed you to be able to choose a room, please.
I don't see an option to choose a room.
Okay, I'll assign you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Maria, please join room 1. Nevan, please join room 7. Amando, please join room 8. Mahotso and Pinky, please join room 9.
Okay. Asipe, I think we are okay now. We can proceed. We can come back to the rooms, to the main room.
Hi, Prof. You're saying I must return everyone to the main room?
Yeah, we can come back now, yeah.
Okay. Participants are starting to come back.
Thank you. Ken, are we all back? Sybert?
And they'll automatically close in 1 second. Yes, everyone should be back here.
Oh, thank you so much. Colleagues, this was a nice story about becoming rich. And it might help us to understand what critical reading is. Now, having looked at that nice paragraph, you can pick up your hands. Maybe one person from your group can tell us what kind of questions can we ask? Why does this look genuine or suspicious? Anyone who can pick up some hand?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I can start from room 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we raised 3 questions. The first one was, what is the evidence of the claims being made in this passage? The second question was, where is this evidence? Because we expect that in what he is explaining, in the first place, we'll get a clear understanding of how this is done. But in the second part of it, we expect that he will put the evidence forward for everybody to be sure of what is being said. And number 3 is, why is this information being hidden? As to say, if you want to get access to the bag, come, inbox me or come behind this screen and whatever. We would want, if it is a free pack, then it would be given freely and without expecting that people would ask for it. So it should just be some kind of information that is just given to everybody to have access to it so that they can make their millions. So those are the 3 questions that we discussed. We were still discussing and then the time was up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. I think these are useful questions and that test the veracity of this claim. But I would have asked you whether, do you think this is a genuine claim or not? Susan?
Yes, sir.
Do you think?
Can you come again?
Do you think this is a genuine claim?
No, there's something fishy about it because those questions are leading us to start doubting about this information that is being shared. So in the way we discussed in our group, I think it's doubtful that this is genuine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Another group? Group 2 or 3 or whoever is ready.
I just don't remember which group I'm coming from. Maybe group 2. My brain has just fogged. I'm sorry about that. But so some of the questions that came up from the group that I was in was, firstly, okay, maybe before we get to the questions, this looks far-fetched, right? Meaning it looks impractical. The first one is, if you look at the first sentence, it says, it took me 5 years to make the first million and subsequently second million in 6 weeks. So the first question that comes there is that, what business model is this? What is the methodology? And, we're looking at the disconnect in terms of the longevity of the first million compared to the second million. Secondly, it's a question of, they say you will receive a free pack, right? So this is a lifetime opportunity where you're going to be making millions and millions of dollars or rands, yet it's free. It's kind of impractical to have a business that's running just free of charge, right? Thirdly, they say, or this person is saying, there is no risk inherent, meaning this business is risk-free. So practicality is, you're not going to have any business venture where you are running at no risk at all. There must be some level of risk, whether manageable, acceptable, or whatever the case may be. So that also brings a bit of doubt in terms of how valid this is or how true this is. And then this person is making a claim that is helped hundreds or thousands of people And of course, how do we tell that that's the truth? And then that really happened as this excerpt claimed it did. So essentially that's some of the things that came out of, I think it was group 2. My memory is working well. Thanks, Prof.
Oh, thanks so much, Kingi. That's quite useful and fantastic. Your analysis is spot on. Let's get the next one, the next group. Yes, we.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure what group number we were at as well, but we did not get to discuss too many questions. We were called right back as we're getting to the meat of it. But I think one of the questions that was raised was just what Klengiwe also has shared to say that the validity of the time frame is questionable. If it took 5 years to make your first million, then what exactly is it that is going to make the model such that you are only going to take 6 weeks to make your second million? What guarantee is there that we would make the second million in less than 5 years? There was also a question about the capital requirements that are needed to be able to make this work. But I think one of the questions perhaps that we did not necessarily get to as a group is coming from me is that if the person is so wealthy and they are so rich, what's in it for them? Because they are advertising, they're obviously trying to draw customers and clients. They are making a business, but what is in it for them if it's not money? It looks like this person is well off already. They are millionaires. They've got luxury villas. They've got cars and all of that. They are financial secure. Why are they doing this? There is nothing for mahala. There's nothing for free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vui. That's interesting. And I can see that most of us here, we are already critical in terms of how we perceive things out there. We don't just take them at face value. And there are many more questions that can be asked. I jotted down a few questions here. The fact that we do not necessarily see this at the first time, we might want to ask, are you as rich as you claim, or you are lying? I think Klengiwe has raised that. We're not told, is there any risk in doing this? And a whole lot of other questions. What do you do with my personal details once I give them to you? All these are very important questions that you might want to ask whoever is claiming this. But exactly, why do we think these questions we are asking are important? Number one, these are critical questions. They indicate that we see more than what a person is writing. We listen more than to what the person is saying. We are critical. We are trying to look for some hidden agenda. What is behind this? And that's what critical reading is all about, but it goes deeper than that. We are trying to look for the real purpose for someone to write something. And another important thing is you are trying to relate what you read and what you already know. Like you guys were saying, I don't think 1 million will be made in a week because you already know that. So you're trying to see an alignment between your existing knowledge and what the claims are, what kind of claims are being made. But before I go to the next, I want to get your opinion. Do you think academic authors, and some of you I am sure are writers, do they write like this in order to scam us or to steal from us or to lie to us? I'm soliciting your views on this. Do you think academic writing is as bland and clear as this? And do you think academic authors are intending to steal from us or to lie to us? Any views? You can just open your mic and speak.
Okay, I've opened my mic, Prof. I was looking for the raising of the hand. I think my mind is really a bit skewed today. Apologies.
No, it's okay.
Look, the academic writing in its core essence is not supposed to be scamming, but given the fact that now there is commercialization of academic work, I think this is where now the scamming has become very much prevalent than probably what it used to be in the past. So for an example, maybe the academic writers weren't paid as much as they are right now. And given the fact that you can commercialize your work, then there's a lot of scamming that can potentially happen, just like in any business where money is involved. So that's my view.
Oh,
Thanks.
fantastic. I think that's a powerful view. I think you are speaking from the point of view of huge companies trying to sponsor research, and they need certain results in order to market their stuff and the commercialization thereof. Thank you so much. Thank you. Grace?
So, personally, I don't think they're trying to scam us. However, based on my research, I noticed that we have white academics that write about Black experiences, which sometimes often omit some important information. I think it's because maybe some of them do not have the actual experiences or knowledge, and then they just carry what they think is right. I'm not sure if I make sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's useful. Thank you so much, Grace. Any other?
Yes, Prof, can I come in?
Susan? Absolutely, Susan.
Yes, I think just to concur with the last speaker, I think in the academic writing or academic reading, we are open to different kinds of reality or multiplicity of reality. So as the information or the knowledge is being created, we are also being mindful of different perspectives of different authors according to their lived experiences. So as you are reading, you are not only pinning your focus on what is being written, but you also want to compare different perspectives of the same kind of information that you're receiving, and then that helps you to generate a position for yourself or for your situation. That's my take.
Fantastic, Susan. Thanks so much. I think all this is quite useful and very informative. Now, in most cases, in some cases, as we shall see later on, the misleading could emanate not from the intention to lie, but due to ignorance. I think it was, I can't remember is it Klengiwe or Susan was speaking, that it could be a lack of experience and knowledge in terms of articulating your arguments in a logical way, but we'll get deeper into that. Now, what I want you to do now, I'm going to give you another short exercise. In this exercise, it's about, we are looking at the same object, but from different angles. So it's about the war in Ukraine from different angles. So I want groups 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 to focus on war Ukraine extract A. So I want to take a screenshot of the extra so that you'll be able to read them. Then groups 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 will look at the war in Ukraine extract B. It's the same war, but I want you to look at it from different views. Don't read both. Just read one. That's the instruction. So I want you to take screenshots of, I think for now you can take screenshots of both, but when you go to your groups, if you are in an even number, you take extract B. If you are in odd number, you take extract A. Okay, I hope you have taken that screenshot. And the next screenshot is your war in Ukraine B. Okay. I hope you have taken the screenshots. Now, I want you to read one extract. Don't read both because it will confuse the exercise and the activity you want to do. Asipa, can you allow us to go into the groups for 5 minutes? They're quite short. It's only 100 words. I've made them quite short. Asipa? Is Asipa around?
Yes, they're joining the groups now.
Okay, thank you. I hope we are all in groups. There are a few others. Please join your classes, join your groups, your rooms. Okay, Asipe, let's come back. Okay. I assume that we are all back and we read the nice extracts. Now, I want to know from those that read extract A, what do you think are the main causes of the war in Ukraine? Anybody who read extract A, I would assume group 1, 3, 5, 7. You can just go on to talk. Unmute yourself and speak.
What I understood from the reading was that Russia is doing what they're doing, or the cause of the war is just to defend Russian speakers, to secure the Black Sea. It's for security, essentially.
Okay. That was, sorry, who was speaking?
Oh, hi, I'm Pilar. I was with Group 5. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Pilar. That's interesting. So you see that Russia is defending itself, so it's fighting this war in order to defend itself and creating a buffer zone. Thank you, Pilar. Anybody who read extract A?
Hi, this is Tepiso. I was in group 7. I think the cause of the war is also based on the involvement of NATO and the EU into Ukraine's Russia politics. I think the first line gives out a lot when it looks at the historical, geopolitical, and security concerns, and also avoiding in the involvement of NATO and the EU into Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is useful. Another one? The last one, perhaps, from the people that read extract A.
Can I come in, Prof?
Yes, Susan?
Yeah, I think Russia has some sense of ownership, or historically, because Ukraine was part of its historical and cultural sphere, then whatever is of benefit in Ukraine, I think Russia feels that there is a right for them to have access to that piece of land if they wanted to. So there's kind of a sense of ownership. That's what I think historically, as it has been put there.
Thank you so much. I want you to take note, everyone here, to take note of the 4 speakers, what they have said based on what they have read. It is my sense, I might be wrong, that the 4 speakers seem to have a similar opinion about the causes of the war in Ukraine. But let's go on to the next extract. Let's hear from those that read extract 2. Who is going to start?
Okay, I will.
Yes, Tanisa?
Okay. All right, we were not sure how we're supposed to, what we were supposed to do in our group,
Yes.
but I find two things. While reading it, my own opinion was interfering with what I'm reading. So my own opinion of Ukraine, the war, and Russia. And so I find disagreement with what I'm reading instead of the information that is feeding to me. So then I had to separate that in the first thing. The second thing then is to say, I'm wondering from whose viewpoints the reading is from and what exactly they expect me, the reader, to understand. And from this is the idea of Ukraine being oppressed by another body, and that Ukraine is right in terms of being democratic, being the good guy, in being resistance against a bully, and that Russia is the bad guy because they're aggressive, the aggression, they're expanding. So that is the kind of information then I'm being fed. So after reading this, I think I should believe that Russia is being oppressor and Ukraine is the victim here. But when I finish putting that aside, I'm wondering, is this true? Is Ukraine as innocent as they're claiming in terms of being democratic? Are they as innocent? What is the issue? Because I don't know what the information didn't tell me what really is the issue. It just positioned them in that. So it's either I take it as face value that they are just victims of Russia. So I think that it brings up a lot of questions similar to the first one that we did in terms of somebody persuading you to make money. It's the same way they're persuading you in this, but you don't get any concrete evidence of the history of what is really happening or going on. So I hope I didn't say too much.
No. That's in all good, and it's quite useful for learning. Retabile?
Thank you, Prof. I'm from Group 10. The impression from reading this extract B is that the writer is careful. The writer is not taking a position. The writer is just stating what he considers to be the view. He keeps using words like the view of the people. The Russia is viewed as aggressive. Ukraine is viewed this way and that way. Unlike in the first extract, in extract A, where the writer has taken a position. In this one, it looks like the writer is not taking a position.
Retabile, you violated the rule. I said read one. No, that's fine, but I get your point. I get your point. Anyone who else who also read extract B? Extract B.
Hi, Prof. It's Lingiwe here. So I'm coming from Group 2. That was, and we didn't do much of discussing actually because I think in the instruction there wasn't anywhere where you said we should. So we were kind of confused whether we should or not. But reading the the excerpt that was provided, the writer has captured the war, or rather the conflict that's ongoing since 2022 between Russia and Ukraine is an aggressive takeover of the Russian, taking over some of the territories that belongs to Ukraine. Now, when you look at the extract, there's quite a number of things that are mentioned there. One, it is a Russian relationship with the EU, and subsequently Russian relationship in relations to NATO. Now, in terms of territory, then it raises some of the questions to say, what was the Russian 2024 annexation of Crimea and support for Donbass basically? What did it contain, right? And secondly, in terms of the territorial demarcation between Ukraine and Russia, what was an agreement in terms of who take what at what stage? But the excerpt in summary has framed the ongoing war as, a hostile takeover by the Russians to Ukrainians. Thanks, bro.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Moigezi. And I just need to, I also think in my group, we're not particularly clear as to what position we were supposed or what to read into this, because there wasn't really an instruction. And one of the things that came through was perhaps to ask that before we got to 2022 and 2024, could we not look at what happened in the 90s to frame this, to understand that is it a breakdown of what the USSR used to be like? Therefore, it's countries that Russia had held together. And now that there's seemingly a push by Russia to claim back what had previously been lands under its control. Therefore, there's a push, and the joining of Ukraine of NATO was just an added instrument for them to say that Europe will come to its defense. But underlying everything here is the access to minerals, perhaps. That is a question, which is a bigger question. Who do you align with? Are the Ukrainians looking at aligning themselves with Europe, and Europe therefore seeking to have access to the gas and all those other minerals that they have, versus those landing up with Russia? And we remember that Ukraine at some point had the biggest shipment of nuclear power. So there are dynamics there that are not necessarily reflected in this, but it's framing as if the USSR is, or Russia is, the aggressor without providing context. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this is quite useful. Exactly. This is what I wanted. I wanted to expose you to material without giving you a question, to see what kind of emotions and questions are they going to arouse in you. And I've seen that it has aroused your criticality, you being critical of whatever is before you. I didn't give you a question or what to do. I just wanted to know what is that going to do to you. As you can see, Mokese, the last speaker here, has talked about questions that I didn't say you should ask questions, but you see how questions come as you become critical. Another thing that I wanted you to notice was that after reading this, you would have noticed that although academic writing, they are not trying to scam us, but in many ways, they may try to sway us to believe certain things, to be aligned with their thoughts, to buy us to their side without necessarily lying. You might notice that between extract A and extract B, by the way, these extracts are not real. They should not be used for any academic purpose. They are not real. It was just a makeup thing. But you'll notice that they are different, and the attempt is to align you with a certain view, although they are talking about exactly the same thing, which is a thing that we are going to look at later on. Then, so academic writing is generally benign. We do not expect authors to be lying or trying to swindle us. But as you have seen, that there is an attempt to take us to their side so that we align our thinking and our views with what they are thinking. We're talking about the same war, but we are getting completely different views. In one view, Russia is seen as an aggressor. In another view of the same war, Ukraine is seen as a good guy who is defending his territory. So all those things will come up. A critical approach when reading now, a journal article, a book, is therefore essential. We are to assess the value of the work it reports. I think the last speaker was trying to get into that, trying to look at what is not written, what is not in the text. There are certain expectations that underpin the way in which academic writers operate. But the most fundamental aspect of academic writing is to ask questions as you read. Number one, you look at, have you given me sufficient grounds for accepting your claim? If you look at the two extracts, was there sufficient claim and ground for us to either take the Russian side or the Ukrainian side? I think one speaker was saying there's no ground, there's no evidence, we're just told this, which is quite useful in critical reading. This is not to simply suspecting the author is untruthful. At times, the author will be truthful, but without providing enough evidence to support that. So you must be careful when you're being critical. Don't be too critical, as in any writing can go to a certain extent in articulating what they want. It is a matter of viewpoints, interpretation, and significance. As you have seen the two extracts, they are putting forward different views, and they are interpreting the same war from different perspectives. And as they write, they have to provide evidence and logical reasoning to reach their conclusion. Now, as a reader, you are attempting to find common ground between what you already know and understanding your beliefs and those beliefs of the author. I think the first person to respond was trying to relate with the work that she's already doing, which is quite critical, and it's very important when you're doing critical reading. You need to relate with what you already know or what others have said regarding the same issue. Now, as a critical reader, it doesn't mean that you must reject everything that comes your way, but at the same time, you must maintain a bit of skepticism, not because you're expecting someone to lie, but there might be other reasons why the information presented before you might not be what it is. Now, the authors mean to be honest in most cases, but may be misled by the evidence into saying something that can be considered to be untrue. In many times, the authors mean to be logical, but may have developed a line of reasoning that is flawed. And the flawedness of their reasoning might be based on their training or lack thereof. When you do research methodology, there are certain ways that we can make claims to knowledge. So we need to make these methods and ways in which we generate claims very robust so that our line of thinking can be accepted. In some cases, the authors may not mean to be impartial, but may have incorporated into account some assumptions that you, as the reader, might not share. And in many other cases, the authors mean to tell us something new, but may not have taken into account other information that you or I may possess. As the last speaker, I think it was Mokets, he tried to give us a whole lot of other information regarding the same war. I'm sorry, the examples that we're using some people who are not into geopolitics might not understand more of that. But those, like the last speaker was trying to bring in his repertoire of knowledge regarding geopolitics, bring it into bear on this particular excerpt, which is quite useful. As you read further, as you develop your academic skills, you'll notice that your ability to criticize, to read critically will improve because of the knowledge that you acquire along the way. That is why in your first year in undergrad, you are not as critical as you are in your third year or your first year of master's or PhD. That brings us to, that was more generic, and I'm now bringing us closer to real academic work and claims to knowledge. So this is going to be a shorter exercise, but this one has questions. The previous one, I didn't give you questions because I wanted to expose you to see what kind of questions does the material provoke in you. This one has specific questions. Now, I might need to explain a few things, especially to those that are not in reading. I think Retabile, I noticed that Retabile is here, might know more about reading because that is in line with her work. So there's a work, the work that was done by Browning, 2025. This account speaks about the different methods of reading. In some cases, teachers, especially in primary schools, they use what is called phonic methods of reading, where you say, you sound the sound of each letter, but it might not work if you use phonic methods in words like knife and obvious, because you don't sound certain phonic. So they have another method that they use, which is called whole word method. So there was a research that was done, fictitious, of course, regarding the two methods of research. So I want you to take note of this, then you'll break into our rooms. And I want you to ask a number of questions about Browning's work. Can you take screenshots before we break? I suppose you have done. Asipe, can we get back to our rooms? Okay, our 5 minutes are over. Can you come back, Sybert?
Everyone should be back in 60 seconds, Prof, but I think they'll manually come back.
No problem. Thanks so much. All right, this is more academic now. I want to know the critical questions that you have raised to our author Browning. Let's start with group 7. As we wait for group 7, is there anyone who's ready to give us some critical questions?
So, Prof, we were just starting to have an engagement. However, I will just also throw in some questions that will be quite of importance. Will be what type of kind of language were these children taught? What was the research on the type of language? What was the method that was used for this research? Was it qualitative? Was it quantitative? Was it mixed method? Was it otherwise? And what was the quantum of the children that they researched on? Should 5 be enough to make a finding of this kind of nature that is publishable? And in what geographical area was this done? I think that then makes a lot of argument in terms of what the findings would imply to, etc. I think those were the 2 or 3 questions that I wanted to pose when we were starting to have our engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Next, any other group?
Can I go?
Yes, Ronaldo, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Prof. I'm speaking on behalf of Group 1, Room 1. Yes, our questions will be along the same lines as the previous group, where we are questioning which backgrounds are the children from? Are they the same or are they different? Were the schools in different regions? Was the same teacher used to teach the children? Because that can also have an effect on the results. We also had a concern about the sample, the 5 kids. We thought that was a bit too small, the sample size. How long was the study for? It's not evident. Also, the age of the kids. Yes, I think that's what we would have asked in terms, in terms of the results of the study. Thank you.
Powerful critical questions. Thank you so much, Ronaldo. Next.
I don't I think our group was 6. So what was quite obvious, like the other 2 speakers, is the sample. When doing your research, you have to consider the sample. And so to make a claim on a sample of 5 children without giving more information seems quite questionable. And so there are other questions posed, like does the school, the age, just various things around sample. So yeah, so what was just obvious is the questioning of questions based on sample size. Yeah, that was it for us based on the time.
Thanks so much, Tanisha. That's quite useful. And you can see that there are a lot of things that you might point out and say this is not right in terms of claiming that this method is better than the other. What is the significance? There are many other questions that one might ask, which include here, is investing just 10? Somebody has raised that 10 students, is it large enough to claim to make such a strong conclusion? What does that performed better mean? I think one was asking whether is it qualitative or quantitative. One was talking about the language that was used. Were the difference between the two groups sufficiently great enough? Maybe you're looking at statistical analysis using inferential statistics in order to determine whether, if there was a difference, was it significant? So there are many other questions that writers might want to, or a critical reader might raise. What care was taken to check how parental involvement at home might have influenced this? This was not said. Maybe some students were assisted by parents at home and others were not. Another question that might arise is, how does Browning's envisage phonics being used in schools? Would the whole word method still have a place, or is saying we shouldn't use the whole word method, just use phonics? So these are some of the critical questions that a critical reader should raise. Now, having raised this, and the question that we have already raised, will it be proper to use this work in your literature review or anything? Can I get your views?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's Tanisha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because of
Why?
again, it's just questioning the sample size. It's just there's not enough information about your sample. So if the sample size is questionable, then it affects your claim, because your claim is going to be based on your participants who participated and what it participated against. How strong is that? So there's a big issue there with the claim and the sample size.
Thank you, Tanisha. I hope you got my question. My question is not, can you claim this as knowledge? My question is, can you use this in your literature review?
No, I wouldn't use it. That's based on that explanation. I wouldn't use it.
Thank you so much.
If I may, Prof, I think sorry.
Yes, I think
go ahead.
I think I can use it, but then raise the gaps in this study and maybe explain how my research is going to fill up those gaps. Yeah, because it's there, it's published. So what is there and how is my study going to improve on that?
Okay. So you can use it in spite of its weaknesses. Thank you so much. Let's hear Mokets.
Thank you, Prof. I think I agree with the last speaker. So in my reviewing literature as a starting point, it provides me an opportunity to say, is what is already in the discourse enough to go by for us to ascertain certain claims? Is there a need for us to research further, or is it a need for us to refute what has been claimed based on additional research that I'm going to conduct? So to borrow perhaps from what the last speaker has just said, that provides me a gap and an opening for me to say, where am I going to position myself in relation to some of the stuff that I am going to be using? Thank you.
Thank you, Mokets. And Martina?
Yeah, I would be careful about even giving any kind of credibility to a study that isn't well founded. So I think for me, the consideration would be, is this credible research in any measure of being? And one would have to look at, has it been cited by, where has it been published, etc. If not, I personally wouldn't waste my time on poorly researched study, because I think it would weaken my literature review, other than to maybe use it as an example of very poor literature. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Martina. Denise?
For me, I think I'll actually, because this is just a paragraph, right? I'll actually maybe read the whole paper. Maybe they did mention all that information somewhere else, and this might be just at the end. So I'll just try and make sure that I've got a full picture of what the paper says before I make a judgment from a sentence or a statement.
Thank you so much. Is that Asipe? Is Asipe hand up?
Hi, Prof. There are 3 PhD candidates who have sent their contributions on the chats. They're just asking for you if you can please just check the chats, because they are at the library and they are unable to talk.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll do so.
I want to say.
Okay. Are you able to check those chats, Asipe?
Yes, I am able. So there's one that I see immediately from, I think it's Mahos. Yes. Mahotso, Group 9, methodology-related questions will be around the sample size. How were the participants selected? Provision of a clear definition of what better performance means. I would also ask, how long was that study conducted as well? Is it the other question, is it a useful as a way of also showing some of the deficiencies in methods and knowledge? And then the last one for Marimo Holo is I would use it in my literature review, but critically examine it, its validity, or not use it at all. I'm still trying to scan if there are prior comments from the 3 candidates, but that's just all for now.
Thank you so much. I can see Ponga has said not at all. I will never use. Okay, that's interesting. I think that's why we're doing this exercise, to see whether we can use that. Now, I've got a short exercise with regards to that. I hope, Mokese, you've spoken. Is your hand in a legacy one or it's a new one?
Legacy one. Legacy one. I'll fix it.
Okay. So let's look at this. Suppose that you want to use Browning's work in your essay. How would you do it? Let's take the example of those people that say they are going to use it. Here is one way in which one can use it. I want to go back to those that say they are going to use or that say they're not going to use after reading this. It says, Browning found that children taught to read using phonics did better in reading tests than children taught using the whole word method. However, the study was small, the tests were rather limited, and the subjects were not tightly matched either for age or gender. Examining Brown's test scores reveals that although the mean score of the phonics group was higher, 2 of the highest scores in the test were whole word method learners. Since this finding indicates that the whole word method is effective for learners, Browning is perhaps too quick to propose that the phonics method is better choice for schools. How is that? I've seen Tinashe. What's your comment on this?
Oh, wow. I haven't had a chance to think. Give me a second, please.
Or any other ones to read and give me a comment? I specifically picked Tinashe because of her views. And any other one to give us a comment regarding this, especially
I think the answer there is in line with what I would have said. It provides an outlet for me to get to say, I'm not going to be as disrespectful of saying, no, I'm not. But yeah, if something that I've picked up worth stating and perhaps provide an opportunity for me to expand on what they have said, if that was my topic of interest. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Any other?
Prof?
Specifically those, I guess. Ronaldo?
Yes, thanks. I think according to this, my opinion is that Browning was a bit hasty in the results that he has, or the author has published, because now we're getting mixed results where we see that the phonics group was higher, than the whole word learners group. So yeah, I would go back and agree that because of the flaws with this research in terms of the sample size especially and all the other variables, I would be reluctant to use this in my literature.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ronaldo. When you say use, we need to be careful to say, are we saying use to support the argument that this is correct or this is correct? I think, as Mokeso pointed out, if you see how this author now, this is not Browning now, this is an author who is bringing forward this work, but at the same time is criticizing it. And in doing so, you are trying to create a gap, which you think your current study is going to address. But before I proceed, let me ask Zanele and Tendai. Zanele first and then Tendai.
Good afternoon, Prof. Actually, I wanted to say the same thing that you're saying, that, this kind of articles or articles or research results are able to help you to show your gap in your research area. I don't know if you were able to hear me. Yes.
Absolutely, Zanele. Thanks so much. This is quite useful. Now, this brings us to the reason or the benefits of critical reading. So the benefits of critical reading are not just for getting the good research, is to get all the research that is out there about the area that you are studying and to help you to craft your own ways of articulating ideas. So if you do very good critical reading, your critical reading of other people's work will help you to produce your own good work because you are aware of the pitfalls that are lined before you or the grounds on which knowledge or claims to knowledge can be rejected. So you will develop a sense of what is and is not robust piece of research. And you also notice what is essential for you when it comes to planning your own work or an empirical investigation to say how many participants should participate in this study. You'll soon begin to identify limitations in existing research and that your current investigation will be able to address. So the attention you pay to other people's work will naturally affect the quality of your own work. So the more you read that, the better you become. You'll soon demand of yourself evidence to back up your claims. In other words, you won't say anything that is not fully backed up by scholarly evidence. This will be very useful for you. You become alert to the possibility of making an illogical jump into your reasoning and thereafter making conclusions. You become sensitive to your own assumptions and how they might affect your claims. You develop a mature academic style of writing that is both fair and discerning in its accounts of other people's work. You might have noticed that if you are to look at this example that we looked at, that this is a mature way of criticizing other people's work without sounding arrogant. So doing so can actually help you as you do critical reading. So those are some of the benefits of critical reading. But what is the difference between critical reading and critical writing? It is not the purpose of this session to look at the clear distinction, but at this moment, it is important for just to try to delineate these related concepts. Critical reading lies in assessing the extent to which authors have provided adequate justification for the claims they make. On the other hand, critical writing lies in your own ability to convince other readers to accept your claims about what you know or what you think is the case. And it is very important to be careful that you are not being a sophist rhetorics, whereby you are just learning to persuade, even if there is no sound knowledge in terms of what you are claiming. And now we learn to, as postgraduate students, what is expected of us if you want to be critical readers. Number one, you are expected to be able to think critically and be creative. You are expected to manage the creative process in self and others, to organize your thoughts in synthesizing and analyzing work that is before you. It is also important for you to be able to identify assumptions and evaluate statements in terms of evidence and detect false or flawed logic. That's very important. This comes from the Skills for Masters programs from the UK. And this perhaps brings me not just to masters, but also doctoral students. In South Africa, we have what is called doctoral graduate attributes. The last attribute, that is attribute number 9, it talks about, I'm not going to look at all the other attributes, but I'm just focusing my attention on number 9, which is the graduate should demonstrate ability to conduct research related critical and analytical thinking, which shows an intellectual competence for problem solving in diverse contexts, both in familiar and unfamiliar contexts. So in doing this, you should be able to evaluate what is there or what is before you, any academic writing that is before you. And there are important ways in which we can evaluate. Knowledge, we just not look at it at face value, because knowledge is not just the empirical. It's not just what we see. It's more than that. Knowledge assumes the interpretation of the same thing. If you are to look at the empirical surface or level, you notice that it's a fact that there's a war in Ukraine, but our interpretation of that war is not the same. So our ability to interpret the empirical or the facts on the ground will help us to predict the future facts. It often entails the evaluation of facts against certain assumed values. That's what critical reading does. And in doing so, there are questions that we need to ask to be able to be good evaluators. 3 of them. Number 1, is there sufficient evidence to support this claim? The 2 experts that we looked, A and B, was there evidence to support any of those claims? Is there another possible interpretation that has not been considered? So, okay, these are the facts, and this is your interpretation. Is there any other way in which we can view the same thing? Number 3, I think you guys were pulling those things. You're saying, are there any other authors that have argued for or against the same view that we are trying to put, that is being put across? So these are important questions that we need to ask, and every time we are reading anything, then there are potential objects of scrutiny in evaluation. Number 1, evidence. Number 2, the flow of the argument. Number 3, are there any implicit indications of author's values, assumptions? Number 4, the author's claims and those of others, are they being compared? And the match between the author's claims or predictions and the reader's your own experience. Colleagues, we end with this simple exercise. You don't need to do it here. I want you to evaluate yourself after this activity. So I want you to take screenshots of these questions. Take a screenshot of this. And so what you'll be doing here, the activity entails you to compare your writing, your critical writing skills and your critical reading skills. You will be scoring this between... Sorry?
Okay, my dear.
Hello, Zanele? Okay. So, at first instance, you need to rate each element of critical reading in the list, and you are rating them between the on a scale of 0 to 2, where 0 is rarely or never, 1 is sometimes, and 2 is always. And you do the same for reading. Then you're going to add all the scores, and they're out of 20. If you get 20 out of 20, it means you are excellent in your critical reading and critical writing. So these are the questions. For instance, in an element of critical reading, you ask yourself, when I read an academic text, I try to work out what the authors are aiming to achieve. So you give yourself a 1, a 0, a 1, or a 2. On the far right, elements of self-critical writing, you write, when I write an academic text, I state clearly what I'm trying to achieve. So you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 2, 0 being the lowest. You rarely do that, 2 being always. Colleagues, thank you so much. And I think I've taken a few of your minutes. I'm sorry for that. But I think this has been useful in positioning us into critical reading, which is a very important aspect of academic work at the university. I really appreciate your presence, and I apologize for some hiccups at the beginning of the session. I would welcome questions, and myself and Asipia would be able to respond. I see Mokesi's hand is already up.
Quick one. Are you going to share the slides with us? The text is too small for us to take. I appreciate that. Thank you, Prof.
And we are also going to, I think the recording will be there as well, but we're going to share this with you. Thank you so much, Mokesi. Over to you, Sipe. There are some comments in the text. Sipe, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is still well. Yes, you will get this recording by going on our YouTube page. The recording is there. We no longer send recordings individually since we quite a busy office. So I think if you can just go to the YouTube page right now, you will see not only the slides, but also the recording of this as we were live streaming. And please just make sure that you do evaluate our workshops as well as this workshop by using the the evaluation link that I had sent. And as I have said to Zanele, I have my little one here as well, because we at Rhodes University are a transformed university, and therefore we are also mothers as much as we are researchers. From my side, thank you very much to everyone who has attended, and I hope you will have a great day. And thank you very much, Prof, for your presentation.
Thank you. There are some comments. Did you check if there's anything that we might need to address before we leave?
Just also one last thing. Thank you very much, ma'am. I think we were able to see the YouTube link on one of the taglines, but I don't see where we would get the slides. Where did you say we'll get the slides from again? Thank you. Sorry.
We will share with you. I think on CPGS we share them to you with you. I mean.
Okay. Thank you.
So I see. Okay, CPGS. Okay, I think all the questions have been addressed. But the slides. Okay. Thank you so much, Joy Joseph. Thank you, Susan. Mabato, thank you. Thank you so much. And over to you, Asipe.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I've sent the link on the chat. So I will now end the session because we are 10 minutes over time. So yeah, goodbye, everyone.